Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and welcome to MFSN's The Hub Fantasy Baseball Talk. We'll talk fantasy baseball, what you want. At the end, as I told my co-host, Flash the Bone.
You can't
Casey
keep
Scheinfeld.
Ross on one topic. You just can't.
Let me do it. You ruined it. Don't say anything. I want to do it. My
Okay,
co-host, Flash the Bone,
That's me.
Casey Scheinfeld. We'll talk baseball. We'll tell you guys who to pick up, who to not to pick up. If you guys have any questions during, be happy to type it in. We'll answer any questions you want on fantasy baseball, even non-fantasy baseball answer questions, love life questions, stock questions. You'll name it, we can answer it. Anything you want. Casey's a trained therapist, so there you go.
Oh, dear.
Casey, let's talk baseball. Pittsburgh Pirates, 7 games in a row. First place, NL Central.
I said a couple weeks ago they're going to finish ahead of the Cardinals. The Cardinals pitching is terrible. So, hey, they have 3 quality starters right now who are giving them good innings, and that's sometimes all you need. That Jack Sawinski guy has to be a must-add at this point.
We'll talk about him a little later, but
3 home runs, 2 stolen bases. I mean, they're doing it all. All of this, by the way, without the unicorn. Everybody thought they were going to struggle, but O'Neal Cruz would be good for you. But O'Neal Cruz is going to miss most of the season, and now they're winning 7 in a row. Good
7 in a row. I mean, they have the best bullpen in baseball, best ERA of any bullpen in baseball. They swept the mighty Cincinnati Reds this week, and they play the Dodgers tonight. It's going to be a test in Pittsburgh. The Dodgers still a good team, Casey Scheinfeld, as you know.
They are.
So it's going to be a nice test. See what happens, but they're playing well as a team. They signed their stud outfielder Brian Reynolds today. over $100 million. They gave him the money. That's the first big sign I think in their history. They never signed a player for this much. Big sign for Reynolds. Again, he's like tearing it up. He's like leading the league in RBIs, I think, even. I mean, the Pittsburgh Pirates are playing unbelievable.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance they can win the division?
It's going to be. I don't think they're going to win the division. I still think it's the Brewers are going to end up winning the division once they get their pitching healthy again. I think they'll take off. The interesting thing is going to be if they're in a spot for a wild card come the middle of July, because Pittsburgh's notorious for selling at every deadline. Do they look to buy? This is like the cheapest franchise maybe in baseball with regards to their willingness to add talent. I would love to see it. I live in Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh is a great city, a great sports city. You think about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Pirates of old, obviously, going back. We are
family.
But even 10 or 12 years ago when McCutchen was at his prime, they were in the division.
Van Syke, McCutchen, it was unbelievable. You're 100% right. I mean,
and so, and it's a great sports town. So I hope for their sake. I mean, we saw it with Philadelphia last year. Maybe we'll see it this year with Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's only April. I mean, I just like when the teams that have no salary at all play well, via Tampa Bay, via Pittsburgh, teams like that are just coming out of nowhere, just making it exciting. We'll talk, and I was watching your Yankee game yesterday, and somebody that I have on my list still that's not 6% owned is Joey Gallo. And he hit a home run yesterday.
He had to enjoy that going against the Yankees.
That ball went pretty far, Casey Scheinfeld, really far. And
he's strong. I don't think anybody doubts that.
Yeah, and he looks, I don't know if you watch some of these games, but some of these games are playing in snow. I mean, they're wearing snow gear. And I don't recognize a lot of these players because they're all like wearing gloves and they have their head, their faces hidden. So when I saw Gallo, I was kind of shocked I didn't recognize him. He's such a big guy.
He's huge. The problem was you saw him standing next to Stanton and Judge in the outfield for the Yankees. He looked average.
He does. And one of my favorite pictures of all time is Judge standing next to the Houston Astros second baseman,
Jose Altuve.
Altuve, who's hurt. It's one of my favorite pictures. Because he looks like a giant next to him. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's Sprout and the Jolly Green Giant. Then you see I saw a picture of Judge standing next to Shaquille O'Neal, and he makes Judge look a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that same thing, and then Judge was at the Ranger game with two of his teammates the other night, and the Rangers lost, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter; they're still in the series. Let's talk fantasy baseball. Let's talk catchers. You made a move in one of my fantasy leagues that you're in with me, and you picked up a catcher. Tell us who it is, and tell us why you picked him up.
Which league was that? The MFSN league?
Nope, the other league. You picked up a guy named Christian Bethencourt of the Tampa Bay. In the past 2 weeks, he has 3 home runs, Casey Scheinfeld, and he's hitting 400.
Yep. I picked him up honestly because I had Logan O'Hoppe, who I'm super high on, and he's now out 4 to 6 months with a torn.
Is that what it is? It's 4 to 6 months.
Labrum, I think. Yeah, they said he's likely to miss the season. So I
saw that happen on live TV, and as soon as it happened, he called for the manager and he ran off the field. I mean, he knew he was hurt. He knew it.
But everybody look, quite honestly, I just wanted a piece of Tampa Bay's offense. Everybody is hitting in that offense. Even Taylor Walls, who, by the way, owns like the lowest exit velocity in the league, still is batting over 3-something. He just makes it work.
We'll talk. Yeah, Walls. We'll talk about Walls. That's coming up. He's available. He's a second baseman, I think, at shortstop too, and maybe third base. What's up, Uncle Ted? Any questions? Any tips you want? Just type it up. Let us know. Christian Bethencourt, we agree with you. The catcher position this year, I think, is a little deeper than we thought, Casey. What do you think?
Yeah, because he also mentions Gabriel Moreno, who is also looking really good. I know you knocked him when I mentioned him preseason because he's not a power guy, but the catcher position is Adley Rutschman is probably the peak right now of the catcher position.
He's the future of the catcher position, all-star, could be MVP right now. I mean, he's playing unbelievable. Another guy that I love at the catcher position who's hitting 367 and has 3 home runs the past 2 weeks is Yan Gomes.
And Jonah Heim. That's another one. Good call, Uncle Ted. Now, I'm going to disagree with both of you on Taylor Walls. I understand Walls is
hold on, wait. I don't agree with Taylor Walls.
Okay.
Keep going. I'll tell you
Ted, I'm going to disagree with you because I think he's getting very lucky. If you look at some of his underlying metrics, they're not very impressive. I think he's putting up numbers now, but if you own him and you can find somebody to take him off your hands, I would trade him in a heartbeat.
I would trade him. And he doesn't play every day, Casey. He does
even
not
if he
play.
Did. Yeah.
He doesn't play. He hasn't played in 2 days. I mean, he's not an everyday guy. He's a utility guy that comes in and plays once in a while. He's not a guy you want. If you play fantasy baseball and if you set your lineup in the morning and you don't look at it until the next day, it's not the guy for you. I mean, you got to make sure he's starting if you have him. Jonah Heim, I don't know what percentage he is right now, Casey.
Yeah, he might. I'll look it up. I think he's over 60,
Uncle Ted. I think he is. We
try to focus on 60% and under, Uncle Ted. He's at 71%.
Yeah, I thought he was, but I still like him, Uncle Ted. Good call. Casey, any other catchers under 60% that I'm missing?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Let me take a quick look at my list here.
I mean, there's the catcher for the A's, but
Chad Wallach for the Angels, the guy who's come in for Logan O'Hoppe being hurt, 302 home runs in the last week, but I don't think that's sustainable.
The Angels stink. I mean, can I tell you something? Well, I live in LA.
That's a little harsh.
And they stink. They're just a team that has 2 superstars, and after that, it's a big drop off. And it's just they don't have no pitching. It's so hard to watch them, and it's so disappointing because when 15 years ago they were in the World Series. You know what I mean?
K-Rod.
Troy Glaus. Remember those days? The glory days. Troy Percival, they were great.
We can go all the way back to Wally Joyner if you want to go way.
I love Wally Joyner. So let's move on to first base. Casey, who's your number 1 pickup at first base? Go.
Oh wow, all this pressure. My number 1 pickup at first base is, right now Connor Joe is ripping the cover off the ball.
Tell us about Connor Joe. Give us a little.
Well, I think he was in Colorado last year, wasn't he?
He was in Colorado. Before that, he was a Dodger. 100%
right. He has his name reversed. His last name is first. I don't know why, but
I have the same problem. But keep going.
There you go. That's true. I didn't think about that. And so he's batting .475 in the last week, 9 for 19. He's just part of that machine right now that is playing really well. Again, I don't think it's somebody you pick up and expect to be your first baseman for more than a few weeks. He's probably
so what's he called? When players like that, what do we like to call them?
We call them streakers. A lot of other people call them streamers. And then Pavin Smith is also playing pretty well there in Arizona. He's not an everyday guy though.
Now, Pavin Smith, Casey, we talked about him a lot last season. I call him a golfer because it's a great golfer name, Pavin Smith. I mean, if I was naming a guy to play a golfer in a movie, his name would be Pavin Smith. Perfect golf name. But Pavin Smith, yeah, he does not play every day, but he's hitting the ball really hard. Another guy that is playing great, and you want stock in Tampa Bay. You told me you wanted stock in Tampa Bay.
I do.
Is Harold Ramirez.
All right, I'll put him up because Uncle Ted said it too.
447, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs in the past 2 weeks. I mean, you got to grab stock in Tampa Bay. I mean, they're not slowing down. I mean, they're not going to win every game.
Did you ever think you'd say you have to grab stock in Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh?
No. And the one stock I'm not going to say you should pick up this year is the Oakland A's. The Oakland A's right now, don't pick any stock up on the Oakland A's. Don't do it. There might be a player here and there that's streaking that maybe I'll say pick up, but don't pick any of it. The A's are may break the record for the most games lost. They may break it, Casey. Especially
they're trying.
Moving to Vegas. It's kind of like that Major League movie. The owner wants them to lose. He wants no fan support. He wants to get out of Oakland quick. And he wants to move on to Vegas. I get what he's doing. I understand. He's not going to make any big signs. I mean, I'm going to show up to the Oakland A's training camp next season and try out for them, because they really are not going to have
power. They're going to love it.
They're going to break a record next year because they'll still be in Oakland, Casey, for the lowest payroll ever in baseball history. Because there's no reason to sign anybody. What's the point of signing anybody to more than the league minimum? Seriously. Brandon Drury heating up. Another guy, Uncle Ted, does not play every day. I do like Drury. Played for the Reds last year. Then he was traded to the Padres. Now he's an Angel. I like Drury a lot, and he's a utility guy, so he plays different positions. But yes, Casey, what's his percentage?
Brandon Drury?
Yeah.
I will tell you in a second.
Casey, any other first basemen? I have one more that I like.
Go for it.
Josh Bell.
He's been tearing the cover off the ball.
He started off terrible the past 2 weeks.
Brandon Drury's only at 44%.
Okay, it's not a bad pickup. I love the utility guys. So Josh Bell, the past 2 weeks, 341, 2 home runs and 8 RBIs, and that's pretty good in 2 weeks.
I still remember his last year in Pittsburgh. Like the first half of the season, he had over 30 home runs at the break, and then batted less than 200 with like 4 home runs after the break.
So what does that tell you? What kind of player is he, Casey?
He's a little streaky.
There you go. He's a streaker. Again, but pick him up now. If your first baseman's not hitting, and a few of them are not hitting right now, I can name a few.
Hey, Andrew.
Okay, so Andrew Henderson. I do have Ruiz. He's stealing bases. He has I think he's up to 5 right now, Ruiz. And we talked about him, but he has 0 power. And I think he's hitting around 270.
He doesn't have 0 power, but he doesn't have any home runs this year. He's batting 270. He's got 5 stolen bases. So
5 stolen bases, all off me. I do my research. You know me. So I don't know who else is. Go back to this question. I don't know who else you have. We'll give you a few outfielders you should pick up, and I would drop him. Yes. Oakland's broke a record for the most run differential this season already. They over 100 in the month of April. It's crazy. I mean, it's really, they're really a bad team. I'm an A's fan too. I like the A's in the American League. I always like them. It's just sad to me to watch a team just blow up on purpose, and it just makes me sick. Any other first basemen I'm missing?
Well, Uncle Ted brings up a good point. Matt Mervis in the Chicago Cubs farm system with Hosmer and Mancini both playing like crap.
I knew that Mancini
wide open for him.
I knew Mancini was a bad sign for them.
Mancini is a great story, man. This guy came back from
again.
3, but you're right. He didn't hit in the playoffs for Houston last year, and it's kind of carried over. I don't know what the story is, but he's not. They're just placeholders for Mervis. So
I think
Andrew Henderson brings up the age-old Cincinnati Red Billy Henderson, Billy
Hamilton.
Billy Hamilton, adage. You can't steal first base. So
no,
yeah,
Billy Hamilton. I think he's in the minors right now for the White Sox. I think he's plays for the White Sox organization. Fastest guy ever seen around the bases. In all seriousness, I've seen a lot of speedsters. Billy Hamilton's the fastest. I've never seen anybody run so fast around the bases in my life than Billy Hamilton. The problem with Billy Hamilton, he can't hit.
Yeah,
but nicest
Ruiz
guy.
hit last year in the minors, but he hasn't done it yet this year.
So. No, but I still love him. But thanks, Andrew. Second base, I had a tough time finding some.
I have a couple.
Basemen. I'm all ears. Like who are they?
Kike Hernandez in Boston.
Kike's hitting ball okay.
Last
tell us what
weeks,
he's doing.
Yep. In the last couple of weeks, 291 average. He plays second, short, and outfield, so you can use him all over the place. But 55 at bats, so he's leading off for Boston, who's been playing better lately, scoring 12 runs. Not hitting for a lot of power. Obviously, that's never been his game. And John Birdie down in Miami is only 46% owned. The guy's not going to hit for a great average, but this is a guy. Didn't he lead the National League in steals last year?
I think he was hurt though. Case.
So if Andrew, if you're looking for somebody to replace Esteury Ruiz and John Birdie, who qualifies in the outfield along with second, short, and third, there's somebody who's going to get you steals and get on base to actually give you those steals.
Yeah, Birdie, 2 home runs the past two weeks, Casey, and 3 stolen bases the past 2 weeks. Yeah. I mean, Birdie's going to steal bases. I mean, if you have that category in your league, I'm sure you do. It's a pretty good guy to pick up. I know he plays for the Marlins. I know you don't want to look at the stats of Marlins players every morning. I get it. Yeah. But he's going to help your stolen base category tremendously. And if he hits a home run every week for how many weeks is baseball on for? 20, 30.
Well, you think about that would be about 4.5 per month for 6 months. That's almost 30. That's almost 30.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, he had 2 home runs in 2 weeks, so it's not too bad. Any other second baseman I'm missing?
Uncle Ted brought up one I wanted to bring up, and that is the replacement for Jose Altuve, Mauricio Dubon, who right now is on fire at the top of that Houston lineup and is scoring runs at a great clip. Again, not a guy who's going to get you power or RBIs. I think he doesn't have
available. Casey, how many positions is he available in Yahoo?
Second, short, and outfield in Yahoo. Yeah. So
I had him at short, but yes.
So that's another guy I like. So
yeah, he's been tearing it up. We haven't got to shortstop yet, but he was on top of my list. Mauricio, a must pick up if you're looking for a shortstop, second base, or even outfield. It's not a bad pickup. Let's talk third base, Casey. Who's on your wish list this week?
Third base. My top third baseman this week. Well, Josh Jung is starting to hit the ball. He's only 59% owned. He's right under there. And this is a guy who's a top prospect. In the last 2 weeks, 320 average, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 10 runs scored. So he's going all the way across the board, helping you. And Ke'Bryan Hayes, Pittsburgh, again, they're playing really well. And he's one of the reasons why 11 runs scored, a 313 average, 3 stolen bases in the last 2 weeks. So those are my top 2 kind of.
You have exactly what I was going to say, which I love you for because it saves my voice. But I agree at third base, those are 2 good pickups.
And again, Kike Hernandez and John Birdie qualify at third base.
Exactly. Well. Both those.
Well, not Kike. John Birdie does. Sorry.
But you can get Jung now. He's streaking right now. He's hitting the ball. He's multi-home run games. He's doing unbelievable. It's somebody that you should pick up, especially in that Texas ballpark when it starts getting hot. The ball really rises in Texas.
And somebody you've been high on in the past is still hitting well and still not well owned is J.D. Davis there in San Francisco. The guy is just producing, and for some reason, nobody's listening to Ross the Boss.
They don't listen to me, but he plays in I'm going to say the Giants are a bad team. I know they get
crappy lineup. Yeah.
I mean, they won last night. I get it.
But it was 1-0 on an unearned run. So it's.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just the Giants are just not a good hitting team. They have a lot of scrubs, and their pitching is mediocre at best. But again, Alex Cobb looked good last night. So I guess, there you go. Let's talk outfielders. You mentioned somebody's name at the beginning of the show. Tell us why you love him so much.
Oh, well, I love his name. That helps. But
Jack Suwinski
is just tearing the cover off the ball. He's kind of the right now. He's one of the big horses in that Pittsburgh engine. That's just propelling them to their 7-game win streak.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great story, Casey. I mean, he was drafted in the 15th round by the Padres. He's some Chicago native. He's from the city of Chicago. Grew up a White Sox fan. When they played the White Sox, Pittsburgh, I mean, he was so excited to play in that ballpark. He was thrilled. But he's a guy that no one expected him to be in the major leagues when you're drafted in the 15th round. Obviously, no one expects you to make it, which this guy did make it. And he's been hitting the cover off the ball in Pittsburgh. Like you said, you should grab a piece of them right now. They're a streaking team, and they're hitting a lot of balls out over the fence. Who broke the record for the most home runs in every game this season? They have not missed one home run this season in every game they played. Guess who it is?
The Tampa Bay Rays.
Tampa Bay Rays. You guessed right, Casey.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a. Think about it. Every game this season, they have a home run. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
That's unbelievable. So Jack Suwinski, number 1 pickup of the week on your book, yes or no?
He's up there near the top. I mean, I wouldn't argue that he's not the number 1 pickup. I think right now Vince Velasquez is pitching so well.
We're not the pitchers yet.
Well, you said number 1 pickup.
For hitters, I'm talking hitters. We'll get the pitchers.
Okay. Yeah.
So for hitters, we agreement. I think Jack is my number 1 pickup just because he's been killing the ball, and he's even has stolen bases also. I mean, the guy's doing everything.
He's got a couple steals, 3 home runs.
So we talked about Joey Gallo. His batting average is dipping a little bit.
Yeah, he's Joey Gallo. He's going to bat 220, but he hits home runs.
He had a home run last night. I watched it. I mean, just a monster shot against your Yankees. And the Twins always got beat by the Yankees. This year's different. The Twins are beating the Yankees.
Yeah, the Twins have their number so far this year.
Are you a little worried, Casey Scheifele, being a diehard Yankee fan?
Never worried in April, man. Never worried in April.
I don't blame you. Okay, good. I mean, I do like that Joe Ryan. I know he's not available. He's over 60%. But
no, and Sonny Gray, they're all pitching. Pablo Lopez got lit up, but he's pitching well.
I mean, their pitching staff I like a lot in Minnesota. They did some great signings. Carlos Correa is not hitting at all. So hopefully when he starts heating up, it's going to help their team. But I like what they're doing in Minnesota, even though they don't have a dome anymore, which they needed because it's so cold they're playing baseball. But I guess
I think that's terrible.
I guess I hate the domes. I've been to the King. I've been to all these domes to watch baseball. It's horrible.
I like I might not like the domes, but I like it better than trying to watch a game in 7-degree weather.
All right. So I know I mentioned the Oakland A's. No, don't pick anybody up on the A's. Well, I'm going to break my rule just because it's a streaker. His name's Brent Rooker. He got hurt last week, but he's back. 385, 6 home runs in the past 2 weeks. Not too bad for a guy on a bad team. He's going to get his at-bats. He's going to play every day. If you have an outfielder that's not hitting, it's not a bad pickup, Casey. What do you think?
Oh, no, I don't think it's a bad pickup at all. But in outfield this week, I think there's a few good pickups.
Oh, good. I can't wait I got a few more, but
so who have we said so far?
We said your guy, Jack Suwinski, the Chicago native, and plays for the Pittsburgh. And I mentioned Brent Rooker, and I mentioned Joey Gallo.
Right.
But
Max Kepler also in that Minnesota outfield is hitting well. Max
is off the IR. He was hurt the whole year. He's
only 3% owned. You know who's an interesting pickup because
I like Max Kepler though.
Because being a Yankee fan, I watched what he did for us last year. Is Matt Carpenter in San Diego?
Did you see the game he had last night?
Yeah, the guy doesn't bat he doesn't play every day.
Pull up his stats from last night real quick if you have time.
Yeah, but last night he
plays for the Padres.
Yeah.
And he has the best mustache I've ever seen.
That's right. Last night he was 3 for 3 with 2 doubles, a home run, and 5 RBIs.
So it's not a bad night. That's like a Ross the Boss softball night, just so you guys know.
That's an average. That's a Monday for Ross.
Yeah, that's a softball night for me. But Carpenter, the Padres are a good team. I mean, that's all I got to say. I know they have their up and downs. I know I know Snell is pitching a little better than he did. I mean,
Oh, well, he
they'll
couldn't
be
pitch
there.
worse than he
Soto is
did.
not hitting, Casey, and Tatis is under 200.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think they'll be fine in the long run. Again, it's April.
Yeah.
They just have to get to the wild card. I mean, those teams, like, who in that division is really going to run away with it? Honestly, it's not as strong of a division as it's been in past when you had three teams competing for first place. I mean, San Francisco is pretty bad. Colorado is terrible. Arizona's playing well, but they're kind of that plucky
They're
kid.
young. They're young.
I don't think they're in it for the long haul. So it really comes down to the aging and injured Los Angeles Dodgers or the poorly playing but supremely talented San Diego Padres. You just got to imagine in a long season, talent's going to win out. I mean, Machado's not going to bat 200 this season. Fernando Tatis is not going to bat under 200. Juan Soto's going to figure it out and at least get up to 270, 280. So it is still their division in my mind.
I agree, and they have some pretty good pitchers on that team too. They have Yu Darvish, and they have Snell, and they have Musgrave, and
Musgrove is back. Yeah,
Musgrove's back after he dropped a thing on his toe at the weight room. I mean,
anybody could,
or whatever. But and who's pitching well for them, who I thought his career was over because he was just getting shelled last year, is Josh Hader. I mean, he was.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, he has 8 saves and his ERA's low. I mean, he's pitching.
I wonder
great.
if he found out like he was tipping his pitches or something last year.
I don't know, Casey. He was getting shelled.
Right. Like with his stuff, they almost have to know what's coming. So one other outfielder.
So yes, you're right. So what other outfielders do you like?
I like Jarren Duran in Boston. The rookie, he was called up. He was a hotshot rookie a couple of years ago. Called up, didn't do well. He was supposed to be kind of like Jacoby Ellsbury light. For those of you who remember how good Jacoby Ellsbury was with Boston in his prime, it was insane. But he came up and he struggled, so they sent him back down. He's up now, batting like 8 for 24 in the last week, 333, stealing bases, scoring runs. He's not going to be a huge power guy, but he does have speed. So that's somebody who I think is worth looking at.
I like it. I think we did a good job with the hitters. Let's talk pitchers. A move I saw today, which kind of shocked me, but I think it's just temporary, is Taj Bradley of Baltimore was sent down to the minors today. I love that guy. I mean, I think I think he's like, I think he's one of the guys that you hear his name for a long time, but they sent him down. I just don't think, I think it's a rotation thing more than anything, because I think they have a 5-man rotation. I think he's the odd man out, and I think they have a few bye games coming up. So I think it's just they want to get him some work down in the minors. I understand it's not,
and manage his innings.
Don't drop him. Whatever, if you have him, don't drop him. Whatever you do, don't worry about him being, Max Muncy, I forgot to mention, is on paternity leave. He's going to be gone for at least 3 days.
Yeah, like all the Dodgers are having kids right now. They all got together and said, "Let's get our wives pregnant."
Let's all have
now.
babies this week. Yeah, well, he's back. The closer for the Dodgers. What's his name?
Evan
Phillips. He's back. He actually took some extra days, and they got in trouble for it, but it doesn't matter. So let's talk pitchers. You mentioned a pitcher earlier.
Well, I'm going to mention first. I want to mention our cover boy, Eduardo Rodriguez for Detroit. Like, terrible team, but like they gave this guy a big contract, hoping he could develop into an ace. He was good and young with Boston, and I don't think he was meant for that environment. They thought he would thrive in Detroit. If he's figured it out, it's been incredible the last 2 starts, 15 innings, 0 earned runs, 16 Ks, a .33 whip, including perfect through 6 innings, I think, in his last start. The problem you're going to have is when you've thrown 15 shutout innings and only gotten 1 win, that's a bad sign for that your team's offense is pretty poor. So he's never going to be a 4-category contributor, but right now he's contributing in 3. The other guy I talked about was Vince Velasquez. This was the former Philly flamethrower who came up with all the hoopla as flames go. He flamed out there in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh last couple weeks. He's a strikeout guy, 13 innings, 17 strikeouts, a 2.08 ERA, a .92 whip. If his command is back, if he's figured out how to command his pitches, he could be an ace for a long time.
And he's 3-0 the past 2 weeks too, which is a great, it's hard to get wins as a starting pitcher because of all the pinch counts. Uncle Ted's mentioning Logan Allen.
Cleveland Guardians.
Cleveland Guardians pitcher. Yeah, he's pitching pretty well. I don't trust him, but not a bad pickup if you're in a deep roster league. I agree. Eric Lauer of the Milwaukee Brewers is 2-0 the past 2 weeks, 1.98 ERA. He's a streaker. He'll do well, and then he'll fall off the cliff and destroy your team. So just be aware. I mean, it happens every year with this guy. But right now is a good time to pick him up is now. Pick him up for his next start. I have no idea who he plays his next start, but just pick him up. He's pitching really, really well. Another guy that's pitching well is T-Chon Walker of the Phillies.
Tawan Walker.
T-Juan Walker. He's 2-0, 2.19 ERA. He's pitching great right now for the Phillies. Not a bad pickup if you're looking for some starting pitchers and some of your starters are not really doing that well, and there's a lot out there. Chris Sale's doing horribly. I looked at his ERA. His ERA is over 8.
I drafted.
Let me say a question. Let's say you have a short bench roster team and you have Chris Sale on your roster.
If there's anything on the waiver wire, any of these names we've mentioned,
you would drop him.
I would probably drop him at this point.
Wow. I mean, the mighty have fallen. I mean, they really have. I mean, just shows you like one injury can ruin your career, which it did, I think, for Chris Sale. I don't see him bouncing. I mean, the Boston Red Sox were scoring runs and they're giving up a lot of runs.
Yeah.
I mean, they covered the over like, I think they're 17-8 against the over, like something crazy I read. But I mean, they've been covering games like crazy with the over. But they're not a good baseball team, Boston. Their pitching's not good, and they have a 100-year-old guy batting third, Justin Turner. So it's like,
I know.
Are they really that good?
Joey Lucchesi, Uncle Ted mentions Joey Lucchesi. He's pitching for the Mets. I don't agree with him that you drop Kodai Senga yet, but Lucchesi is pitching really well.
Lucchesi, I have him on. I was going to bring him up today. You don't drop Senga. You're out of your mind. Absolutely not. I felt bad for Ohapi. Yeah, that was a horrible injury.
Yeah, it's a bad one. Nobody and he's a good kid. You don't like to see an injury like that, especially when he's playing well. He's finally getting his shot. Hopefully it doesn't affect his career in the long run. So
any other starting pitchers that you're kind of focusing on that are under 60%?
Well, Kyle Gibson is pitching well right now, although I don't know if I trust him long term to keep it up. And Pittsburgh has some good pitchers right now. Ronzi Contreras is pitching well. Mitch Keller is also pitching well, but they're going against the Dodgers for the next few days. I don't know if I would run them out there yet, but if they survive this gauntlet of the Dodgers, then I think I would pick them up.
Yeah, and again, Pittsburgh, whoever is the GM of that team did a bravo. You did a great job. I mean, to win 7 games, and I told you that's the big test for the Dodgers starting tonight. I mean, the Dodgers, as much as they could be losing or be hurt or be on whatever, they're still a great team. I mean, they're top 10 team. So yeah, the starting pitchers. There's a lot of starters that are struggling, and just don't drop them so quickly. Like I mentioned, Chris Sale, you would drop him. I would probably, if I had room, I would try to hold on to him as long as I could. I mean, it's just what I mean, I made a mistake. I did not start Alek Manoah this week, and he pitched 7 innings and gave up 0 runs. Just because he was pitching
against
horrible.
My Yankees, and the
Yankees. But I was pitching against the Yankees, who usually has a great team. And he was pitching horribly. He was giving up a lot of runs to bad teams, and of course, I don't start him. But then Spencer Striker of the Braves almost pitched a no-hitter last night.
He is 13, amazing, right?
13 Ks, 8 innings. Braves won
I remember when you picked him up in our league last year. I'm like, all right, Rod, that's a smart pickup, but he'll drop him in a couple weeks. Like I was convinced he was like, this guy's kind of that no command guy who's going to get a few strikeouts, but his whip's going to be like 1.6. And I was just, sometimes you have to admit you're dead wrong.
Do you think? Let's talk. I know it's early, but let's talk each league, and then we'll go. Well, let's talk relievers. I only have one reliever that I really like. I've got to pick this guy up because he's under 60%, and it's Carlos Estevez of the Angels. He's 3 saves, 1.5 ERA the past 2 weeks. He's the only guy that I kind of trust right now that's under 60%. Is any other relievers that you're jumping up and down?
I mean, Alex Lang in Detroit is doing pretty well.
Yeah. But again, Detroit, I mean,
and then it's
the same problem in Kansas City, and in those cities, it's like you're not going to have many save opportunities. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
and the guy who I would pick up, probably my top pickup outside of who you mentioned, is I think Brian Abreu in Houston is just lights out. He's got 2 saves in the last 7 days because of the use of how much they're having to use Presley. And the guy is just, I mean, he just 4 innings, a 0 ERA, a .43 whip, 6 strikeouts and 2 saves. He just gets it done. And I think if anything were ever to happen to Presley, this guy would take the closer's role and run with it. So I would pick him up.
I think it's a good idea. Let's
Uncle Ted says Jose Alvarado. I agree with you. He's the closer right now in Philly, but he's 72% owned. So
yeah, I mean,
we look for 60% and under. But Uncle Ted, you're absolutely right. If he's available, snag him.
I agree. Let's talk. What pitchers in the National League are you kind of surprised about? Well, who's your favorite? If you could trade for any pitcher in the National League right now, who would it be?
Any pitcher in the National League, who would it be?
You want to talk American League? Mine would be my guy, Striker. I mean, I don't know.
Spencer Strider's got to be up there, yeah.
I mean, he's number one just because every start he does, he pitches really well, and he's very consistent, and he's on a good team.
Yeah, I mean
checks every mark. Strikeouts, his ERA is low. There's no like blemish in his stats.
No, he's pitching great. I mean, the only other one, I mean, I would consider Zach Gallen. He's pitching amazing. I just don't love Arizona's home park.
I've been there. It's a horrible place to watch a baseball game. Good food, great food, really good. They have like unbelievable concession stands. Like they have the best food from every stadium, and that's what they have there. So you can, if you want a hot dog from Dodger Stadium, you can get it there. If you want the fries from Chicago, you get. So if you want the garlic fries from the White Sox, you get. So it's like they do have great food, but the stadium in a whole, it's horrible. And they do want to build a new stadium now in Arizona. Just so you know, they want to build a new one. And as you know, in Vegas, they're building a $1.5 billion new stadium for the team that comes in a couple years.
The Las Vegas Aces. They'll go from the A's to the Aces.
You think so?
Yeah.
So you think they'll just blow up the A's will just be a thing from the past? You'll never hear about the A's ever again.
I don't know if you'll never hear from them again. I mean, they've gone from Philadelphia to Kansas City to Oakland, so they seem to have survived. Maybe they'll stay the Athletics, but I just think in a town like Vegas, wouldn't you want them named like after the card, like the gambling?
I mean, I think Vegas is going to have a professional basketball team. They'll have a baseball team. They already have a hockey team. And they already have a football team. So Vegas is very
and every casino will buy a box that they'll give out to their high rollers, and the
Raiders tickets are the most expensive tickets in football. I mean, that you just nailed it. That's why, because it's an event when you go to those games. You spend the weekend in Vegas, you gamble all night, and you sit in the sun all day, and you go to the game. It's great. Okay, so in the American League. I mean, it's kind of tough for me. There you go.
It's got to be Shohei. I mean, he and Garrett Cole are both pitching great. Or McClanahan. Like the American League is stacked with starting pitching right now. Sonny Gray is doing great. Luis Castillo is doing great. Joe Ryan is pitching well. All of them. Even Jacob deGrom is throwing good.
DeGrom's pitching well too.
DeGrom has 26 innings, 43 strikeouts.
I was going to tell you about DeGrom. He's pitching great, and he's 100% healthy. I mean, he's ready to roll. I wish I drafted him. I thought he was more of a roulette type draft guy,
and he still might be. Like, hey, it's still April again. May 17th, he could have some elbow discomfort or a forearm strain, and he'll be out for.
Yeah, that's like true with any pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, when's Verlander coming back? Any news on him?
I haven't seen anything.
I mean, I haven't seen anything either. Tony Grosslin of the Dodgers, He's coming back on Wednesday. He's coming off the DL. He's making his season debut, which is good. He was an all-star last year. He had an unbelievable season last year. He got votes for Cy Young even. And he's really not that well owned in leagues. So go pick him up. That's a good pickup for you. I wanted to mention him during the starting pitchers.
All right, Ross.
Totally forgot. Well, that's it for the show.
No, hold on. I want to give you props. You made it 40 minutes talking only about baseball. So why don't you take 5 and
I'll give 2.
Okay.
So NFL draft is Thursday, first round, and the second round and third round is on Friday, and the rest of the draft is on Saturday. A lot of stuff's going on with the first round, Casey.
I know.
Who do you think is going to be the first pick? Who do you think will give me your analysis real quick? I know you keep up with it like me.
I think Bryce Young is the first pick.
Bryce Young, even though he's a small guy and he looks small in college, but it doesn't matter. The guy, he's a winner.
I see the Texans trading out of the 2 spot. I just do. I don't see why they're staying there if they're not taking a quarterback. The rumors are they either want Will Anderson or Tyree.
Okay, let's go back to that. They have Mills as their starter, and they signed another backup. They have 2 quarterbacks on their roster right now. Okay,
right. But if you're not sold on one of the top 4, and let's say you have your eyes on that USC kid coming out next year, like let's build draft capital, tank the season, and try to trade up next year and get the kid out of USC.
So my pick is CJ Stroud. I think is a guy that does everything and is a winner and is a big guy. He can run, he can pass, he can do everything. He checks every box. He's my number 2 pick. I like Anderson as the first defensive player picked. Deshaun Robinson, odds on.
You mean?
Yeah, he's going to be the first running back picked.
Bijan Robinson. Yeah,
Bijan Robinson. He's going to be the first running back picked. I think this is where I think he'll go.
Jahmyr Gibbs is almost as good.
This is where I think Robinson will go, and he'll go early. I think the Eagles are going to take him. Just because.
Oh my God! Could you imagine you add that to AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts and Goddard and Devonta Smith? Like that is.
I think the Eagles are going to get him.
As a Giants fan, I hope not.
The Cowboys were talking about taking a running back too. We'll see what happens there. I don't know.
I think they would be more in line for a Jahmyr Gibbs type because I think they see Pollard as an every down back right now. But
the quarterback from Kentucky supposedly told some of his friends, what's his name?
Will Levis.
Will Levis told some of his friends that he's going to be taken in the first pick of the draft. So the odds, everybody heard about it. And so the odds went down on him. I mean, there's all this odd people are, you can bet on this stuff legally and people are betting on it. And it's like,
well, then there was that thing leaked that CJ Stroud did terrible on that cognitive test and where that
it doesn't matter. Those tests are a waste of my time. But if Will Levis is the first pick in the NFL draft, it could be the worst draft pick ever in NFL history.
Will Levis,
let me just remind you about Will Levis. He doesn't do that well when he plays in college. He wasn't a winner. He was he won like half his games. It wasn't like tearing it up.
Yeah.
His stats were not that great. I mean, again, I don't know why this kid gets all this. I mean, he'll be a first round pick, but he's not a first round. He's not the first pick of the draft. There's no way.
I wouldn't take him, but hey, no, I think the only one, I think, I don't know. I don't know if any of them are ready to come in and start right away. But if you go number 1, I can't imagine they're thinking, oh, we'll have him sit behind somebody for a year. It just doesn't work that way.
No, I think Carolina's going to have their first pick start the first game. I don't see him sitting.
And who do you think it's going to be?
It's going to be Young.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you thought it was somebody else.
No, you know what the tell is? And then we'll go after this. The tell that is that Young, you know how you tour all the NFL teams that might pick you? Like you do a little tour before he canceled the tour. He canceled going and meeting all the GMs and meeting all the executives for every team. He canceled it.
Yeah. That means
So
somebody told him, trust me, you're coming to us.
Well, I think Carolina said, you are going to be our guy. Don't waste your time traveling to Texas or wherever else you want to go. Or the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts need a quarterback too. I think the Colts will get that Richardson kid from Florida who's good.
Well, I heard the Colts are high on Levis, so who knows?
I'm such an anti-Levis guy. It's so funny.
I know you are. So, but I know. I think if you're in Dynasty, I would want Richardson as a stash for one of my first
Richardson, another guy, Richardson checks every box. Strong arm.
You haven't seen him play because he's only started like 10 games in his career.
13. He started 13 college games. I get it. But, you're talking about a guy that when he plays, he looks really good. I like him. He's not a first pick. I think Young's the consensus. I think that's the right choice. But we'll find out Thursday. I like watching the NFL draft. It's always exciting. There'll be a lot of trades, like you said. We'll see teams trade up, trade down,
give away. We can talk about it again at our show on Thursday at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. We'll touch base if there's any new rumors. Feel free to ask.
Yep, but Levitz is the big one right now, and it should be a great draft. And on Thursday, like you mentioned, at 4:30 Eastern, Dr. Dan Ratner will be joining us.
Oh,
giving his 2 cents.
That always makes it more exciting.
Yeah, and we'll give him a bad time because his Cleveland Cavs are not doing that.
Are losing to the Knicks.
I love it. Well, we don't talk NBA that much here, but yes, we will give him a bad time about that. Don't worry. I'm Ross the Boss. That's Flats to the Bone, Casey Scheinfeld. We'll see you guys on Thursday at 4.